you, IDAC, for inviting me here today. Pune is a very special city. There's a large part of my family that lives here. And the subject of today's little talk is a word we coined called URBARESIDENTIALISm. And the reason is that for the last 25-30 years, the way the context of the Indian cities have essentially materialized or manifested is lots and lots of residential buildings with some kind of retail at the bottom, and that's the whole aesthetic and the look of the cities. And I think we need to look beyond that. We should look beyond that, bring some projects which are beyond residential to showcase the multidisciplinary work that we do as a practice. And I'll just quickly move through some of the slides. So this is an institute we did in Bits Pilani, Rajasthan. It's a completely underground building which stands between an old 70-80-year-old clock tower and an old Saraswati temple. And the only site they had was in the center. And this being a completely heritage campus with old beautiful Rajasthani arches, etc., the only concept that we could come up with was to put the entire building underground. And effectively, we came up with this idea of no architecture. So this was the entry for it. It was a design competition. There were many architects all over the country. And this is what we came up with as part of our entry. And the client selected it. Obviously, the building turned out different because as some of the structural engineers in the room would know, if you did the building this way, you'd have to invest in a lot of retaining walls. But in our final design, as you can see in the image, the building is cut open from both sides. So we have a lot of natural light, and we were able to eliminate retaining walls altogether. In terms of cost, I noticed a lot of the jury members today asked about cost. This is a 3,000 student campus of nearly 3 lakh square feet, done including excavation, civil work, finishes, landscape, lighting, everything in 74 crores. So it was done in quite a tight budget in a place like Pilani, which goes from -1 to +49 degrees. This is an urban renewal plan we're doing in Bandra Kurla complex in Mumbai. It's for the E block. That is the block that you pass just before you enter the main G block. It's a complete renewal plan with all the old government buildings and how we are going to step by step redevelop it and create leasable space for private developers to take on. Part of the design was also to link the new metro station, which is elevated, with the Maharashtra Nature Park, which is across the Meethi River on the opposite side. So we designed this pedestrian bridge that connected from the elevated platform of the bridge through the development to the Maharashtra Nature Park. Another interesting development that we're doing, this is with the transit-oriented development policy in the city, where office and commercial and hotel developments can be done very close to the new metro stations. And part of the commitment is to connect from the concourses of the metro stations directly into the development. So this is a 6 million square feet development which is currently under construction, again in BKC. The nice part about it is there's no compound walls, there's no traditional, the way you see office buildings all over our cities. It's a completely open breathing space, and that is part of the mandate in the transit-oriented development policy. I'll skip this project. It's the old Amravati. I hope it comes back, that we won in a design competition, again for a Singapore client who wanted to do, this was called the catalytic development for Amravati, which was the first residential and office mixed-use project just next to the capital city. And unfortunately, the project went under after the government changed. This is a project which is very special to us, to our studio. It's the National Maritime Museum of India. It's a large 375-acre site in Lothal of Gujarat, and it houses the main maritime museum of the country with a large public interchange. There's a lighthouse. We have taken navy and other ships from the shipyard, broken it up in pieces, brought it to the site, and reconstructed them, as it's all going to be part of the museum display. And this is some images of the project, which is fully under construction now. It pays homage to the site of Lothal, which is a 2500 BC dig, where the first known port was discovered by Indian archaeologists. And what's important about this site is, in 2500 BC, this was the first known resettlement of human beings due to climate change, because the ocean receded and they had to move out, because their trade and their ability to survive also disappeared. So we are doing a small recreation of using conjecture as to what those settlements could look like as part of the museum complex. Of course, we were the collaboration architects for the Geo World Center. And the reason I'm actually showing these projects is more from the sense that cities like Pune, like Mumbai, are going to start bracing themselves for very large, multicultural, multidisciplinary buildings. And this concept of keeping everything separate will start to change. These are some our new thoughts on how we want to do retail. We're doing a large retail district in NCR, Delhi. So as you can see, we're making it much more high street and pedestrian friendly, and trying to move away from the mall format, but still keeping all the the aspects of the traditional mall or the traditional shopping experience in the development. Moving on, this is the country's largest hotel, currently under development. Again, from the mixed use angle, this is two hospitality products together, a Marriott Marquis and a St. Regis, with 500,000 square feet of office, all sitting on top of a large convention center, which again sits on top of a marriage destination, banqueting down below, truly making this a mixed-use development. Extremely difficult project with a lot of structural transfers, and making sure that you have a building that can churn out 75,000 meals a day, and you can still get room service in 60 seconds. We had to work with almost 30 different consultants to engineer and re-engineer this building before it could go into construction. And the hotel aims to open in December of next year. This is a very small school that we did in Upper Thane, that is in Anjur, for our client Lodha. A very small budget, 1 lakh square feet building with a tight budget, and it was for the Euro school, but done with only using simple materials like concrete, paint, and a little bit of MS. And whatever detailing you see, including the entrance canopy, the chamfers, we had to do all of that in concrete, because that was the only base quantity or the BOQ item we could use to create the architecture. So again, working with a variety of different briefs. This is a very special project to us. It's the first time that we designed 20,000 hostel rooms in one campus in about 20-25 acres. And we had to do this at a cost of 2,700 rupees a square foot, including air conditioning in Jaipur. And this project is a platinum 5-star rated project. And the academic building opposite the street from here is India's largest net zero energy building and the world's 3rd largest net zero energy building, certified. The interesting thing about the hostels is that we worked with our sustainability consultant very closely to sort of map all the wind patterns, the sun directions in the different seasons. So even in the deep summer, you get a maximum of 1.5 hour of direct sunlight in the streets, and the wind patterns are mapped so that there is constant thermal comfort. The architectural inspirations were taken from the colors of Rajasthan, and as you can see, most of those windows, etc., you see whatever is done is all done in paint. because we had no real budget to work with. This is the sports complex, the students' gym, the food court. That's an institute we just completed in Kalyan for the Birla Group BITSOM. This is the Center of Excellence that sits in the middle of the institute. It's a multidisciplinary campus. Again, something new to which is happening quite a lot now in India, but it was a first for us. There's a design school, there's a law school, there's an engineering, there's a management school, and it's all rolled into one campus. These are the images just taken a couple of months ago when the institute was opened. That's what the whole thing looks like. And the main multidisciplinary institutional building, again, as you can see the image on the bottom right, you have this large staircase leading right up into the academic spaces. There was no real entrance gate to the building. It was all free-flowing. These are the hostels. You see that staircase. The color inspirations were taken from the logo, the colors in the logo of the institute, and that was used to sort of create the whole architecture for the campus. This is housing, coming back to the main topic of today's presentation. We've learned over a period of time that there are certain building types, like your cross or your Y, etc., that give you better access, that give residents better access to light and air, and we continue to use those to in our housing projects. We've also we are a firm that has a tradition of doing a lot of traditional buildings in Powai for the Hiranandanis, etc. And while we still, while we continue to explore contemporary architecture, I think there is something about being traditionally rooted in the way you design certain floral elements, etc., that we still love to do, because that's what makes the buildings humane. It's almost like the clothes we choose in the morning. So we still continue to apply those motifs in our buildings, and we enjoy doing them. This is a villa scheme, again for the same client. Some high-rise, high-end luxury projects in Mumbai. The importance of some of these is the use of different materials. Like we've used, we were one of the first to use Recley form liner in our buildings, and then we painted it, with silver so that it shines in the evening. Some other interesting projects, the Lodha Venezia towers, which are very unique because they are on a 1:11 aspect ratio, and done almost about 12 years ago when it was very, very difficult to do so. That's what the completed buildings look like. Again, very simple material palette, a Sadar Ali stone done in 4 or 5 different finishes with terracotta and aluminium silver gray louvers. And that material palette is basically applied through the entire common areas of the building. There is a rooftop garden at right on top of the building. Some other old projects which are now getting completed, like the Rustomji Crown Towers in Prabhadevi, Mumbai. These are again 2 towers of 255 meters and a third tower of 180. In terms of height, yes, it might sound impressive, but very, very difficult projects, because these kind of projects tend to go over 14 and 15 years, from conceptualization to all the DCR rule changes to the final completion and the fatigue that sets in. And to all the young architects in the room today, being resilient is a very important part of your journey to success, because you have to see projects out. It's not enough to just design it on paper, and till the final detail, till the client actually furnishes money to do his clubhouse, etc. This is 25 South. The first time we tried to use ventilated windows, so we've used a very interesting, what you see on the image on the right, in a very humid context just facing the sea. We have these ventilator panels which can be opened, and even in the humid months the house can be ventilated. Some extremely exciting structural transfers that we've executed in this building. So these 4 columns you see are actually holding up a 215-meter tower above, And the cornicing in the column that you see on the left, right, was actually done trying to mimic the reinforcement that had to enter the column at a certain slope. So rather than doing an ugly girder, we corniced the girder to sort of follow that trajectory of the reinforcement, in some sense trying to convey how the loads are being transferred. That's the clubhouse, done in steel and Ipe wood with stone chips. This is a building that is actually being inaugurated on 2nd of August. It's just completed last week. It's a training institute for the Aditya Birla Group, where people who come into their management roles first come here to incubate for a few months before going into the group. We did their first building about 20 years ago, and in this building, the theory was they wanted something fluid, and all the new students or all the new incubators that came are different. So Mr. Vatve is here. He's the structural engineer for this and many of the other projects that I showed. But this one is special because every floor, every beam, every single corner of the building is different. We have 71 different curvatures of glass, I think 50 to 60 different curvatures of PT beams, and each of them were designed, detailed, and executed in the most amazing way. This kind of project, you can never earn fees. You can just invest and make the building. These are some of the completed pictures, what you see at night. This is the Ocean Towers, which are under construction, 2 towers of 275 meters. Started off as a stainless steel clad building, is now Recley and aluminium, but 2 very beautiful towers. We are working with Foster and Partners as the principal, and there are 2 transition floors where there are outriggers, and all of that has been expressed in the facade of the building. This is the Minerva Towers, India's tallest building. Again, J+W is the structural engineer. Very difficult project. It's gone through 5 different cycles of DCR changes in the city. The promoter died halfway through the project. Again, we've completed it in his memory. And the reason you see the elevation so different from the above and the below is because the way the laws changed. And we had to adapt and almost float a 50-story building on top of another 50-story building. 45, it's 91 floors in total. Completed. That's the 3D view on the right, produced by our office almost 9 years ago. That's the building on the left. The vision executed, again, coming back to resilience. And it's the tallest building in India today, probably for the next few months. And along with that, the project I showed you earlier, the AeroCity in Delhi, it's also the longest building, because both buildings, one lying down and one standing straight, they are both 300 meters next to each other. But I will tell you through experience that the AeroCity project is 200 times more complicated than the vertical tower. Then coming back to being contextual, sorry, my time is running out. This is an institute we did in Goa, a highly contoured site. And again, we used local materials. All the block work here is done in laterite, no bricks, no concrete blocks used. And all the bricks that you see outside are clay-fired, ranging between 12 to 18 mm. And all the bracketing that you see to hold these very large awnings are all structural brackets. They are not artificial brackets. And the challenge here was to create an institute which really felt like it belonged there. So we've used cement tiles, we've used as many traditional materials as we can, while still trying to create a very modern and contemporary institute on an extremely hilly site. So you can see any picture you see in this place, you'll see the contours. And what we call on the right-hand side, the grand spine. In this institute, every student can get from their hostel room to the classroom covered by going through these covered corridors. And in this main covered corridor, what we call the grand spine, we took the liberty to design these beautiful 4-meter tall lights. So that light you see is almost as tall as this room, like pendants. And we had to design it and keep cross-checking because we are seeing it from a height of 6 meters. So it needs just the right amount of detail to be appreciated. If it's too detailed, you won't see it and you'll be spending for nothing. So we went through all of that sampling. Again, these are the housing buildings done in a Goan Portuguese style, very well accepted. This is Lodha Bel Air, Mumbai, done in what we call the cost-effective Art Deco style, all in Maiwan. So there is no change in the shuttering from ground to top. The only thing is the change in the external detailing to make the building look different and humane because of the height and the scale. And again, I repeated, we as a firm, we're very fond of and we enjoy doing work with a little bit of classical Art Deco Indian detailing. It's part of our DNA. That's how we showed the refuge balconies on the top of the building, and the detail is consistent everywhere. This is the building we've done right here in Pune, the Symbiosis School. Again, Mr. Vatve is the engineer. You can't have a presentation without mentioning you. It's a very close building because a primary and secondary school along with a hostel, and the client had an exceptionally tight budget. And there are a lot of clients who say this is how we do things. So you have to cajole them and you have to sort of massage them nicely to make them do things the way you would like to do it. So we had to work with them, and we use colors and we use this little grill element. And then they got some artists from the Northeast who actually help paint the building. So we just chose some patterns and gave it to them, and they were happy to paint the actual facades of the building. So this is a hostel building that floats on top of a auditorium. So again, very challenging building, but nicely done. That's the main atrium with all the north lights and the cement floor. And all the students look down, and this is the play area for the main primary school. This is how the spaces look. That's the overall facade. These are some other projects in Pune upcoming, so I'll just skip through them. Some buildings with office and retail high street with F&B below. I will skip through all these. Some other high-rise buildings in Mumbai, again with J+W, the Island City Center Towers. I don't think I would like to do another high-rise which is all glazed. We did this one, that's fine. Again, coming down to level of detail, that's a small little 5,000 square feet sales center we did, where we had to take an old shed and actually convert it into a sales center. So we had to tear up the corners, add in these curvatures, and bring about this entire development. Some low-rise development, internal courtyard facing housing, only ground +6, ground +7, humane scale with with large openings so you can walk in and out, completely pedestrian housing. With on the opposite side we have the low-cost housing, which of course is of a much higher density. And this is the final project I'll close with. The only reason it's here is we've just completed it. But what is special in this project is the client was very insistent on going low-rise and creating an MLCP for parking. But we were able to convince them not to do it because the site had these 5 or 6 very beautiful rain trees which you get in Bangalore, and we were able to save all of them while still creating this very simple, low-cost, no-frills development, and it's executed, and it's these are the finished photographs, and that's a guy sitting and enjoying his rain tree. Thank you very much.